When you've worked in corporate long enough, you learn that silence is your strongest weapon. I joined Hendrix Technologies 5 years ago as a senior analyst, quiet, precise, never one to make noise. I liked my job simple. Data, reports, results. No office politics. But one Tuesday afternoon, politics found me. It started with a knock. The VP's son, Ethan Wallace, leaned against my office door with that careless smile of someone who'd never faced consequences. He was new, barely 6 months in, and already walking around like he owned the place. "Hey, Daniel," he said smoothly. "Mind if I borrow your drawer for a minute?" I looked up from my laptop, puzzled. "My drawer?" "Yeah, long story. Just need to stash a file for an hour. My desk's being cleaned." I almost laughed. The VP's son, hiding files? It smelled wrong immediately. But instead of questioning him, I nodded. "Sure." "Bottom drawer's unlocked." He grinned, slipped a thick brown envelope into the drawer, and walked out without another word. That was his first mistake. The moment he left, I sat still, replaying the scene in my mind. The envelope had no label, but I'd caught a glimpse of something stamped in red. Confidential, internal audit. Now, in our company, that label wasn't casual. Audit files were the kind of thing that could make or break careers, or worse, reveal fraud. So why was the VP's son sneaking one into my drawer? I didn't touch it right away. Instead, I slid the drawer closed quietly, and decided to let the trap set itself. When Ethan came back an hour later, his expression was overly casual. "Thanks, man. You're a lifesaver." He pulled the envelope out, flashed a quick smile, and left again. But what he didn't realize was that I'd installed a small USB camera under my desk months ago. Not for spying, but for security. It recorded 24/7. And now, it had just captured him planting and retrieving a confidential document from my office. I didn't say a word. Not to him, not to anyone. For the next 2 days, I went about my work like nothing had happened. Ethan acted the same, confident, smug, even cracking jokes in meetings. Then, on Friday morning, chaos erupted. An email from corporate compliance went out to all staff. Subject: urgent, missing audit report and internal investigation. Apparently, a key audit document related to financial discrepancies had vanished from the VP's department. Security was reviewing footage and checking employee computers. I read the email twice, then leaned back in my chair. So that's what he'd planted. At noon, HR and security showed up at my office. "Mr. Reed, we need to inspect your workspace," the security chief said sternly. I nodded calmly. "Of course. Please, go ahead." They searched everything, drawers, folders, even the recycling bin. Then the chief paused. "Strange. The report was logged as accessed from your terminal yesterday." I smiled faintly. "Would you like to see something?" I turned my monitor around and opened the security folder from my desk camera. I played the footage. There, in clear view, was Ethan Wallace walking in, sliding the envelope into my drawer, and leaving like nothing happened. The silence that followed was deafening. The security chief leaned forward. "Mr. Reed, when was this?" "Tuesday," I said. He said his desk was being cleaned. The HR officer sighed heavily. "You didn't report this?" I shrugged. "Didn't seem urgent." I figured he had permission. They exchanged glances, then gathered their files and left without another word. An hour later, the entire building buzzed with whispers. By evening, I got a call from the CEO's assistant asking me to come upstairs. Inside the conference room sat the CEO, the HR head, the security chief, and a very pale Ethan, beside his furious father, the vice president. The CEO looked at me kindly. "Daniel, thank you for coming. We've reviewed the footage. Would you like to explain what happened in your own words?" I kept my tone even. "There's not much to explain, sir. Ethan asked to use my drawer. I didn't question it." The VP shot me a glare, but his son's face said everything: guilt, panic, and fear. The CEO nodded slowly. "You handled it professionally. You didn't interfere, didn't accuse, just stayed calm. That's integrity." He turned to Ethan. "As for you, You tried to frame an innocent employee to cover up your own department's audit discrepancies. You're dismissed immediately. The VP tried to protest, but the CEO's tone left no room for argument. Family name doesn't grant immunity here. We built this company on accountability. Ethan's father slumped, silent. That evening, as I packed my things to go home, the CEO stopped by my office. "Daniel," he said, "I'm promoting you to Senior Operations Manager. Starting Monday." I blinked. "Sir." He smiled. "You proved more than loyalty, you proved control. The kind of control we need at the top." I nodded, trying to keep the shock from showing. When he left, I opened my drawer one last time and looked at the empty space where the envelope had been. That's where Ethan had tried to bury me. Instead, it became the spot that buried him. 2 weeks later, word spread that the VP had resigned quietly. His son vanished from the industry entirely. And me? I stayed exactly where I was, silent, steady, patient. Because sometimes revenge doesn't need fire or fury. Sometimes, all it takes is sliding the drawer shut and letting the truth open itself.